Good day, my dear students. I am Michael Adam Lopez, and I'll be teaching you the syntactic structure of subordination. But before that, let's explore first the meaning of subordination. Subordination means combining independent clause and a dependent clause to form a sentence or paragraph. It uses a connecting word called subordinator or subordinating conjunction to join one clause to another. Example of subordinating conjunction are if, when, tell, unless, since, although, and many more. The clause introduced by a subordinating conjunction is called subordinating clause or dependent clause. It is on a lower order of importance in a sentence because it cannot stand alone as a complete sentence and likely dependent upon a main clause to be meaningful. In addition, it often begins with a subordinating conjunction or a relative pronoun. There are two punctuation rules to keep in mind when using a subordinators. Sentences containing subordinating conjunctions are punctuated differently depending on the arrangement of the clauses. The first rule, no comma is necessary if the independent clause precedes the dependent clause. Example, Jerry slid to home plate as the ball flew overhead. The formula being portrayed in the first example is independent clause plus subordinating conjunction plus dependent clause. The second rule, a comma is necessary if the dependent clause precedes the independent clause. Example, as the ball flew overhead, Jerry slid to home plate. In this example, the sentence structure starts with subordinating conjunction plus dependent clause plus comma plus independent clause.
Good day everyone, my name is Andrei Deverson and welcome to this video presentation. Question: do you often feel as if your writing could be improved? Many students and business people would like to increase their writing skills, and the best way to do it is by learning how to use joining words properly. More specifically, by learning a particular group of words called correlative conjunctions. But what are correlative conjunctions and why will understanding them will help you become a better writer? At this point, you understand the basics of joining words and how they take two separate ideas and bring them together. Coordinators are easy for you to understand, especially since you use them so often in writing. You're also confident about subordinating words and how they connect independent and dependent clauses together. Now, the next category of joining words to learn is the correlative conjunctions. So, what are these joining words and how are they helpful? Let's begin with the correlative conjunctions definition. As suggested by their name, correlative conjunctions correlate, working in pairs to join phrases or words that carry equal importance within a sentence. Like many of the most interesting parts of speech, correlative conjunctions are fun to use. As you know, conjunction is a connector between different parts of a sentence, whether between two clauses, phrases, or words. Correlative conjunctions are conjunctions that work in pairs to show a relationship between two elements of equal importance. In other words, correlative conjunctions combine two relative parts of speech. Some common examples are either or, neither nor, both and, not only but also, whether or, and rather than. Now, let's move on to the function of correlative conjunctions that I mentioned. We will now focus, define, and exemplify. First, we have either or. Either or conjunction is used primarily when presented with two choices. The correlative conjunction either and or is used to join two positive options. Basically, we use either and or to connect things which are the same types, phrases, clauses, or words. When you use either, you're offering what? You're offering the first alternative. And when you add the word or, you're declaring the other choice or choices. Now, let's take a look at some example sentences using the correlative conjunction either and or. First sentence would be, you can either drive your car to the grocery store or ride your bike. This sentence uses the words either and or to show the two alternatives for how you can get to the grocery store. Let's take a look at another example. You can either study at the library, your dorm, the student lounge, or a busy coffee shop. This sentence provides many options as to where to study. Where do you usually study? And the last example would be, you can stay either with me or with him. For our next correlative conjunction, we have neither nor. Neither nor are conjunctions that are used to deny or negate. It deny or negate words and phrases, to be exact. In the case of neither, it gives two options that are both negated. Nor is the negative form of or. We should all remember that. Neither nor is used when the choice is negative or the person wants to say that more than one thing is not true. We can use neither as a conjunction with nor. It connects two or more negative alternatives. This can sound formal in speaking. Let's take a look at some examples. First, we have, it is neither an obsession nor a projection of his mind, although it certainly does compel him. Now, this sentence states that it is both not an obsession or a projection of his mind. Here, the neither nor function is evident for it deny and negate. The same is true with the next two examples. In all the time, he had neither moved nor shown any interest in the rescue attempt. The equipment is neither accurate nor safe. For our next pair of correlative conjunction, we have not only but also. Not only but also are used to show an additional and important element in the sentence that is used to indicate excess when combined with the first element. Not only but also can be used to connect either nouns or clauses. When it connects nouns, you never use commas. But when connecting clauses that are complete sentences, you use a comma to separate them. Example of connecting nouns with no comma, of course. My favorite food is not only lobster, but also scallops and shrimp. Example for connecting clauses that has no comma. Not only will I eat lobster every chance I get, but I will also eat scallops and shrimp as often as I can. For our fourth correlative conjunction, we have both and. Both is paired with and. It is to add emphasis to two coordinated elements in a sentence. Both is focusing on adverb, and is a coordinator. Correlative conjunction both and refers to two things or people together. It is always considered plural in a sentence. Example would be, I used to like playing both football and basketball when I was young. We are both tired and hungry after shopping. He is both smart and resourceful. My father was both happy and sad when I got married. Now let us come to our last pair, which is whether or correlative conjunction. Whether or is used as a conjunction to to show two different options in the sentence. The conjunction can be used both in a manner of negation and confirmation. The word whether is a conjunction used to show that more than one option is available. Example would be, I can't decide whether to paint the wall green or blue. She didn't know whether he was laughing or crying. In casual conversation, people often add or not onto the end of the word whether so that you will regularly hear the phrase whether or not. Now that I have discussed some of the common correlative conjunctions used in daily conversation and academic writing, let us now come to the rules that we all should remember as the future language teacher. While using these conjunction pairs, we must remember to use them according to correct grammar rules. Rule number 1. Keep verbs and subjects in agreement. When using correlative conjunctions, the subject-verb agreement is very important for the sentence to make sense. When correlative conjunctions join sentences with two singular subjects, the verb use must also be singular. Example: neither Alberto nor his brother is coming with us. However, when they use the correlative conjunction pair both and, we can use a plural verb form. In addition, when correlative conjunctions join sentences with two plural subjects, the verb use must also be a plural one. Okay, example: neither the students nor the teachers were present at the candlelight. Students and teachers are in a plural form. So we all should remember that when correlative conjunctions join sentences with one singular and one plural subject, the verb used must agree to the noun or subject it is placed closest to in the sentence. Example: neither my husband nor my kids like reading books. Observe that the verb like is a plural. It is used because it is closest to the noun kids, which is also plural. For our second rule, we have to keep the antecedents and pronouns in agreement. Pronoun agreement is also an important element while using correlative conjunctions. The rules with pronouns are very similar to those of subject-verb agreement. When correlative conjunctions join sentences with two singular pronouns or nouns, the pronoun used must be singular. Example: neither Rema nor her sister brought her costume. Moving on, when correlative conjunctions join sentences with two plural nouns or subjects, the pronoun used must be plural. Example: neither the students nor the teachers gave in their consent for the new schedule. And in accordance to the first rule, correlative conjunctions that join sentences with one singular subject or one plural noun or subject, the noun must be singular or pronoun based on the noun closest to it. Example: neither Andrei nor his friends like their new piano teacher. For our third rule, we have to keep our sentences parallel. The sentence, both the dog and cat are being lazy today, is incorrect. It should be both the dog and the cat are being lazy today. For our second sentence, we have Ted is not only a fun date, but he also is talented at cooking. This sentence is incorrect. Again, it should be parallel, which means Ted is not only a fun date, but also a talented cook. Keeping the parallel structure is important when using correlative conjunctions because the sentence's fragments must always be equal. Because of this fact, disjoining words function similar to coordinators, which also connect independent clauses together. Therefore, you want subjects, objects, adjectives, adverbs, nouns, and clauses to be parallel whenever using joining words. You made it this far in the video, so before I and my topic, I would like to share how to use commas with correlative conjunctions. So as you can see, correlative conjunctions aren't too difficult to understand. Even if you didn't know what they were called before now, you've certainly been using them in your writing for a long time. It is often tempting to throw in a comma between a set of correlative conjunctions, but the general rule of thumb is not to split the sets up. Exceptions occur when the sentence structure is grammatically incorrect without the comma, or there is a non-restrictive clause in play. That brings me to my next point, which is many people incorrectly use commas with correlative conjunctions. For example, is you either love Stephen Curry or you hate him. Second sentence would be, I would rather be best friends with Arya than with Sansa. So as you can see, all of the commas in the two sentence example given are incorrect, because as a general rule, there should be not a comma between a pair of correlative conjunctions. But there are of course some exceptions. Example, it seems that neither Piper, one of the lead characters of Orange is the New Black, nor Alex, her sometimes girlfriend, can stay out of trouble for long. So in this sentence here, the information provided about the characters makes up two separate non-restrictive clauses. These clauses require the use of commas, and as such, it's okay to interrupt the correlative conjunction pair with these commas. So that would be all for my report. Once again, my name is Andrei Deverson. Thank you, everyone.
Been confused when someone agrees with you but uses a negative word to emphasize his point? Well, if you're that confused, don't you worry, because I will help you understand, identify, and compose negative statements, negative questions, and double negatives. So hello everyone, I'm Nicole Oliveris Bandal, and I'm about to discuss the structure of negation. So buckle up and let's get started. Negation is the action or logical operation of negating or making negatives. Negation defines the conversion of the affirmative sentence into negative. So, in simpler words, negation produces negative sentences or statements. Negative statements includes statements of things that are false. They don't have to be accurate or true. They're simply statements from a speaker or writer that are believed to be untrue. An example of a negative sentence is, I do not like to sing. By changing the helping verb do into negative with the words that contradict such as not, we can apply negation in a sentence. Another example of a negative sentence is, the evil stepmother never loved Snow White. The word never is what makes the sentence negative because it contradicts. Kylie can buy Gucci for her daughter. In this sentence positive in the present tense, how are you going to transform it into negative in the past tense? Well, it's simple. You're going to change the present can into its past form could and add not to negate it. In that way, it will be, Kylie could not buy Gucci for her daughter. Negative statements can make use of the words do or will, including did, does, can, and could, before not. So, it will be do not, will not, could not. In any of these constructs, it's possible to substitute could not with the contraction can't. Negative statements are also typically formed by adding the word not after the helping verb. The most popular helping verbs are a form of to be, including am, is, are, was, and were. Another thing to understand is that the word not is usually used in splitting verbs in negatives. My friends are not drinking beer tonight. In this example, the word not split the verbs are and drinking. Note on splitting assumption. When a form of verb to be such as am, are, is, was, were stands alone as a single word verb, it doesn't need a verb string to split. To become negative, it simply adds not. Like for example, Virgin is in class today. The verb to be is stands alone as a single word verb. So, to make it negative, we will add not next to is. Now the sentence will be Virgin is not in class today. Bella did not love Jacob. In this past form of the negative sentence, what have you noticed about the main verb love? I'm sure you noticed that the main verb love does not have an ed ending, right? It is because when forming a negative in the past tense, the helping verb did is what signals the past tense, so the main verb love remains untouched. Understood? How about the double negatives? What is it? Double negatives are two negatives used in the same phrase or sentence. But should we use double negatives or avoid it? Avoid it. We should avoid double negatives because they are considered incorrect in standard English. Double negatives are also confusing. That's because double negatives cancel each other out and make a positive. An example of a double negative is, I couldn't find no paper. How could you change it into a correct negative? It's very simple. Exclude the word no, since the helping verb could is already negative with not. So the sentence becomes, I couldn't find paper. In order to make a sentence of negation grammatically correct, we will only use a single negative. Now let's move on to questions. If a regular question is a request for information, what is the use of a negative question? A negative question uses a negative contracted verb, and it implies that the speaker already knows what is correct. Speakers of English often want to confirm information we think we know. In other words, we might know something about a fact and we simply want to know if it's true or not. We use negative question for confirmation, opinion, polite request, and offer. A negative question for confirmation can be, didn't you see Anne yesterday? You may also express your opinions in a more polite way by changing them into negative questions, such as, wouldn't it be nice to paint the walls green? Pressing offers and invitations often assume the form of negative questions. They usually begin with the words, want you, wouldn't you, or why don't you? For example, wouldn't you like to drink? Another example is, why don't you come and spend the evening with us? Another examples of negative questions. Don't you like to read? Is a negative question for confirmation. Wouldn't it be nice if you spent your time with me? It's a negative question for opinion. Why don't you have dinner with me? is a negative question for polite request. Wouldn't you like another cup of coffee? Is a negative question for offer. That's it. That's the concept of negative sentences and questions. I hope you apply what you have learned today in formal writing and in daily conversations with your friends or family. Thank you for listening.